on your wrist, a plain Jane.
The following video is broadcasting live, and thank you for being my studio audience. Thank you for hitting thumbs up and subscribing to my channel for more Black news, celebrity entertainment, and a splash of controversy. What up and welcome back. It's your girl Jane, the plainest Jane, and we have some really important syrup to get into. I started this series on the channel a while ago, and I realized I hadn't added to it in a while, but that doesn't mean that I've stopped seeing things that are worthy of being spotlighted in said series, okay? I ain't got my co-host with me here today. He gonna be in the next video, right? We're doing 2 lives this evening. So come on in to everyone. I'm so sorry for the wait. Honestly, there was some news, some information breaking on Instagram Live. Fat Joe went live with the scamming pastor, aka the flashy pastor, aka Bishop Bling Bling. They called him a lot of different things, right? The New York pastor, Bishop Lamore Whitehead, who got robbed while he was streaming live doing his sermon, right? And him and Fat Joe went live, and they did this near hour long, when I'm literally 20 minutes out from this video, did this near hour long Instagram live. So, you know, I had to screen record the entire thing for myself from beginning to end, so we can go over that in the next video when we're talking about something, a show lineup that is more entertainment based, okay? So that's what's going on with that. And I can't wait to get into that with you all on the backup channel. And I'm just going to transfer you. If you stay to the end of the video, I'm literally just going to transfer you and dump you from this chat to the other chat, right? And if you were all here on the channel last time we went from the main to the backup channel, you've already seen how that works. It literally just transfers you, so you ain't even got to find anything. But look, come on in, hit thumbs up. Happy Tuesday, okay? Second day of the work week for a lot of us, depending on what your schedule is. If you're a Monday through Friday, all right. Y'all know things are always sticky in real life and in Hollywood. Hey, Rashida. Hey, LaBelle. Hey, Jasmine. Made it. Special shout out to you. D Butler. Shout out to all my moderators and shout out to my channel members. I truly, truly appreciate each and every one of you. And I mean that. Okay. So as you come on in and have a seat, let me just explain something, because I realize that this series is a series that a lot of people either don't comprehend because they judge it from the outside looking in, because there's something pulling at them that they just take offense to it, right? And I've been told this before, but it's not going to stop me from talking about what I feel like needs to be discussed in this video. And these things need more spotlight in the world in general. We're talking about children. When I talk about issues under the flag, right? If you've been following this channel for a while, you kind of already know what this series is about. I'm talking about predatory practices from people who utilize, misuse, right? Infiltrate and misuse the labeling of the LGBT community in order to cause harm onto children. That's what this is. I had somebody ask me, and this is somebody who really actually fucks with me, okay? They were like, yeah, let me ask you something, Jane, about this series. Why do you think pedophilia is a sexuality, you know, or sexual preference? And I'm like, I don't. That's the point of my series. You know, time and time again, we see these predatory practices happening primarily in schools, although they happen in other places as well, right? I did a story about how, you know, it's such a sticky subject. And I do have people that I'm friends with who are part of the community. So I try to be really careful so that I don't offend them. But honestly, all I'm doing is calling out the people, the pedophiles, who are saying, oh, I'm part of the LGBT community, because they know that encourages a lot of people, right? It makes a lot of people apprehensive to ask questions, because who wants smoke with the LGBT community, right? Like, it's always going to be a tussle, right? When you bring them up, they zoom in and they ready to attack you if you're not saying the right thing. And my whole thing is, if you're attacking me about this subject right here, then you stand for pedophilia. You stand for the harm of children, right? So let me just get into this to really break it down for you yesterday, okay? Or today, before we get into the specifics of this situation, because I've been covering this stuff, right? So obviously today's title is about gender identity, right? There's a gender identity quiz, and we're going to go through the different worksheets and why the schools felt like it was appropriate to put this in the schools. And also we're going to get into why the Biden administration was sued. Now, I covered this before on the channel, where the Biden administration literally said, look, we're not going to give you lunch money to give to these hungry children, right? You know, a lot of kids, they get free or reduced lunch, whatever the case is. And the Biden administration decided, well, look, if you're not going to let people who were assigned male at birth, if you're not going to let them into the girls' bathroom, then we're not going to give you lunch money. Right? So, in order for schools to receive their funding to feed the students, they've got to place, right, the girls in danger, right? And that's very problematic in my opinion. Okay? Because some of these kids, and you have teachers speaking out about it, they frivolously change their pronouns just to troll teachers or make it difficult for teachers to call on them the correct way, right? And I thank you. Someone in the chat says they use it as a cover. Thank you. They really do. And I have plenty of friends who are part of the LGBT community, and they don't have any intention, nor do they touch, and it's not even about touch, right? Because in order for you to cause harm to a kid with your ideologies, you don't necessarily have to physically touch them. It's about what are you doing to their mind and how are you trying to indoctrinate them? So come on in, hit the thumbs up button. Let's get into this, right? Because when I talk about issues under the flag, this is a phrase that I coined myself over here because I've noticed the trend. Are pedophiles a part of every single community? Do pedophiles use any cover they can to get away with preying upon and grooming children and saying and doing inappropriate things? Absolutely. However, one thing that jumps off the page in my daily strolls on social media and the newspapers and otherwise is a lot of these people are misusing their label or this identity to do this harm, right? So, welcome to this very necessary discussion about issues under the flag as it pertains to predatory behavior that exists within certain people who categorize and label themselves as members of the LGBT community. So this does not pertain to the LGBT community as a whole, and it certainly doesn't apply to you or the LGBT community if you or they do not groom children, but rather it applies to pedophiles and people who will inflict harm upon children while using the flag as a shield or a loophole to get away with to get away with this stuff more and to do so more freely because of society's apprehension to ask questions to the LGBT community. Now, once they posture themselves within the LGBT community, they target kids and they seek access to them and their minds while trying to intentionally and maliciously work around parental consent to fill children's minds with potentially harmful information about altering their body. One of many things that they talk about, but specifically when you're talking about these body transformations to minors and you're trying to work around parental consent, these are things that have irreversible and damaging effects. And the worst part about a great deal of this stuff is it's being powered and executed by school systems and new government policies. We just went over the Joe Biden situation, right? And that's why he's being sued. All right. Now, it's not fair and it should not be okay to target innocent children and force them to deal with the politicization of the LGBT agenda, right? There have been several instances where children are actually harmed under the care of said predators and they're using the flag as a shield, right? So that is my spiel on this situation. That is the most efficient wording that I can provide as to what my intent is with calling out some of the things that are wrong with pushing things through the school system in order to indoctrinate children. Okay. So we're going to get into the two things in the title, right? And I just find the need to slow down and help y'all understand why I'm doing this, right? Because some people, they see the flag, oh, you picking on the LGBT community, but I'm not picking because it's not about people who don't harm children. This is literally about me calling out pedophiles. That's it. That's it. I enjoy calling out pedophiles. I enjoy blowing a spot up and making it hot to disencourage them, right, from the things that they are doing. It's everyone that's quiet and apprehensive to point a spotlight in a certain direction, right? And some of these people, I feel like they don't even identify with the LGBT community, but they know that if they're under that guise, that people are going to be less willing to ask questions because they just don't feel like the headache of being attacked, right? So that's that. Okay. So let's go ahead and get into exactly the two stories that we're talking about, and I have a lot. I could go on and on and on, but I'm only gonna just give y'all two, and then we're gonna get over the entertainment stuff on the backup channel. So look, if you haven't already taken a moment to hit the thumbs up button, please do so now. Subscribe, consider subscribing if you haven't already. And let's get ready for takeoff.
The plainest Jane. This is one of my favorite comments here. She says, I loves me some black, and she said, loves me some black news. She says, is it just me, or does anyone else get tired of seeing people that don't look like them delivering info about them day in and day out?
All right. Now let's get into it. I posted this worksheet on the community tab a while ago, and a lot of you all commented under it, and you felt like, what is this? Like, how would you feel if your kid went to school and they came home with the sexual orientation exercise worksheet? Because this is what's going on in the school system, right? And I would say like 99% of the people under that post felt like it was crazy. There was some people who were defending it. Like, no, this is okay. Let's get into what and why here, right? So this here says, the goal is to reduce homophobia and discrimination based on sexual orientation and create straight allies for LGBT people. It says key learnings. Awareness of the experience of gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, and questioning youth. They want you to understand homophobia as an unrealistic fear of or generalized negative attitude based on sexual orientation, and increase your ability to distinguish between the myths and reality of several different orientations, right? But here's the part. These are the questions that I personally, I would take big offense if this was my child or my little sister, my nephew, anybody that I care about going to school, having been asked these questions. It's kind of like here that it's not even kind of, they are. And I get the point of it, but it's not appropriate for school. This might be an extracurricular activity that maybe parents could go over, but this is not appropriate for school because they're literally demonizing homosexuality, because the reality is, if you're not heterosexual, sometimes that is demonized by society, right? So let's get into these questions. It says, what do you think caused your heterosexuality? So what do you think caused you to be straight? These are children in schools K through 12, where this is being implemented. Does that make sense? That's just question number one. Do you think these questions are out of pocket? Drop a 1 in the chat if you feel like these questions are out of pocket, or 2 if you think they're perfectly fine. I'm completely open to people who disagree. I always encourage y'all to think critically and independently and check in on your mental health before we get started. But I really want to know how you all feel about these questions. Let's get into the next one. It says, when and how did you first decide that you were heterosexual? Why are you questioning my child's orientation at school via a worksheet in class? Why? How and why is that appropriate? Like this is not okay. This is not okay. We keep going. We get to question number 3. Is it possible that your heterosexuality is just a phase that you may grow out of? So is it possible that you might grow out of being straight? Tell me how this makes sense. What happened to teaching them to write and read? What happened to these things? This is stuff that they're trying to implement in school, K through 12 schools, right? And it's already in some of them. We get to the next question. It says, if you've never slept with a person of the same sex, is it possible that all you need is a good gay or lesbian lover? I know you lying. How is this appropriate? How is this appropriate? Why do you heterosexuals, not why do you heterosexuals, right? And I get it. It's this reverse psychology game, but this is something that Honestly, if I walked into work tomorrow and I was given this worksheet, I would be offended. It's not appropriate for the workplace. It's not appropriate for a professional setting. A school setting is a professional setting for children. It's the academic setting. This is not acceptable. I'm not saying that you shouldn't question your children's core belief system if it's off, right? By asking them hypothetical questions on the reverse psychology scale, but this should not be something that schools and academic systems should be taking the liberty to do. It's just not right. It's just not right. Then it says, to whom have you disclosed your heterosexual tendencies? Who have you told that you're straight? Who have you told that you are not queer? These children are out here being shot at in schools. And these are the things that we're sitting them down and we're taking the time to make sure we ask them. Okay? Shout out to all 90 of us here. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button and share this joint on Twitter, Instagram, somewhere, right? Where you share videos, text message, group chat, whatever the case is. Let's get to the next question, right? Why do you insist on flaunting your heterosexuality? Why do you insist on flaunting your straightness? Can't you just be who you are and keep quiet? Would you want your children to be heterosexual knowing all the problems that they face? A disproportionate majority of child molesters are heterosexual. Do you consider it safe to expose our children to heterosexual teachers? Even with all the societal support marriage receives, the divorce rate is spiraling. Why are there so few stable relationships among heterosexuals? Why do heterosexuals place so much emphasis on sex? Why do straight people place so much emphasis on sex? Considering the menace of overpopulation, how could the human race survive if everyone were heterosexual? Could you trust a heterosexual therapist to be objective? Don't you fear that the therapist might be inclined to influence you in the direction of his or her own learnings? How can you become a whole person if you limit yourself to compulsive, exclusive heterosexuality and fail to develop your natural, healthy homosexual potential? That sounds like a question where they're literally trying to convert you over to homosexuality, right? There seems to be very few happy heterosexuals. Techniques have been developed that might enable you to change if you really want to. Have you considered electroshock therapy? Okay. So there are a couple of schools that assisted with curating this. And it's supposed to be a skit that provides minor children a suggested dialogue in which gender confused child's parents, church, best friends, and current gender opposite partner are all perplexed and hurt by the child's gender revelations. And a new potential gender aligned partner feels eager. The narrative instructs the characters to talk loudly at the gender confused child until the child explodes with frustration. The skit then suggests that the gender confused child take out a toy gun and suggest the idea of suicide. Any town suggests that the skit conclude with a panel discussion in which they discuss how the straight couple answered the questions, raised concerns for the audience. Okay. So look, I totally understand the reverse psychology aspect. I totally understand teaching your kid to be kind and respectful of other people who may identify differently than you. But again, if we're gonna flip the script in this way, this should be an at-home thing. There's nothing wrong with teaching your kid to respect everyone and that they shouldn't be judging or causing harm or berating or being violent in any sense. And violence isn't all physical. Words can be violent, can cause harm, can incite physical harm. But this is not appropriate. This is not appropriate for school. And there was some people on the community tab who were, well, there's nothing wrong with this, because honestly, you got to think this is what, the queer community, these are things that the LGBT community are asked all the time. So what's wrong with flipping the script? And look, I'm not here to act like people of the gay, or of the LGBT community aren't, like there isn't any judgment or harm that society brings their way. It's unfortunate. It really is. However, does that mean that the school at every, right? Because this is an orientation and identity, right? That doesn't mean that the school has the right to take any group, right? Group's pain and then they're inflicted on the children, right? People of the LGBT community, and especially because I remember when I was in school, and especially the guys, the girls not so much, because we get it. Like, some people think that two girls kissing is hot, it's da da da, and then you get to two men and everybody's like, ew, yuck, sausage party, whatever. So I remember how cruel kids can be, but society in general can be to people who identify that way. But this ain't okay. You've got people who have been raped, touched, molested, abused at home, based for whatever reason. That doesn't mean that when the rest of the class or the rest of the school arrives the next day, the school gets to say, listen, this group of people are suffering. Let's flip the script and let you see how they feel for once. You see how, you see how crazy that is? For an academic environment. Anyway, I could see if it was some sort of a diversity club that you opt into for children who may be a little bit older, or whatever the case is, right? College, or whatever age you pick, right? Kids mature at different times and in different ways. But this is not okay, to take one group's pain and say, let's flip the script and make these other people who don't identify, who can't relate to this struggle, let's make them feel the pain of this other group. That's crazy. And it's uncomfortable. And it shouldn't be done at school. It shouldn't. it just, it shouldn't. But let's get into more, because there are more worksheets as it pertains to this particular study. We're going to get into the gender worksheet that they have as well. Okay. I know these videos ain't too popular, right? Because it's a sticky subject. It is. I talk about sticky things. I talk about things that are difficult to talk about. And is it risky sometimes? Yeah. There are some people who are naturally going to see this video from the outside looking in and be like, here she go. She shouldn't be talking about the gay community. I'm talking about pedophiles infiltrating the gay community, because I want to protect children, right? If they keep doing it and nobody's shining the spotlight on what's wrong, then it's going to continue. This is about the children, right? So here it says, after going through the chart, the facilitators should chart themselves from top to bottom. Then they should ask those who volunteered to share their identities with the group. Okay? Julia, when were you born and what sex were you assigned? How do you identify your gender? How do you express your gender? Where on the spectrum would you like your shape to go to? Once each of the volunteers have gone, discussion groups will be given time to chart and share with their discussion group. Remind them that this is voluntary. Do not look at other people's papers. And, this is not that the last worksheet wasn't an issue, but, you're using something that kind of looks like a Barney unicorn, right? Very childlike, to get them into it. There's a lot of psychology behind putting colorful images in cartoons and using those to get into to children's mind. Let the children be children. Like, stop all of this. This is too much. This is too much. Let the children be children. And if there's something that the parents want to discuss at home, let that be that. What's your gender identity? Is it female, male, other? What's your gender expression? Is it female, male, other? What sex were you assigned at birth? Who are you physically attracted to? I don't want you asking my kid at school who or what they're physically attracted to. Don't do it. Teach them how to read, write, and do long division. Teach them macroeconomics. Teach them calculus. Teach them trigonometry. Okay? Who are you emotionally attracted to? Who are you physically attracted to? Let me tell you something. When I was in school, some things are instinctual. For me, being heterosexual was instinctual, but I can honestly say I wasn't thinking about it like this when I was in school. It was not to say it was unspoken, but in school, there was nobody asking you, are you attracted to boys or girls? And damn sure not teachers. Whatever the kids snicker about your friends or whatever, they're asking you who you like. But like, this is out of line. Teachers shouldn't be asking this or be privy to this. They shouldn't. Now, if you got a pronoun, that's something different. If you prefer to go by pronouns that are different, but all this, who are you physically and emotionally attracted to and all this stuff, stop it. Stop it. It's really out of control. Truly. It's out of control. Someone says, how is this helping them prepare for the real world? Tell me that. Tell me that. Okay. Here's another worksheet. Gender identity, male, woman, transgender, gender queer, gender flux, queer, androgynous, bigender, non-conforming, man, agender, gentrified, or gender fluid, I'm sorry. Female. This is called our gender identity. Write down all of the above words. Our orientation is how we feel. Our gender identity is what we say, what we call ourselves, and how we express. All of that is our gender expression. Let's look at the three things together one more time. Your gender expression is a choice. Your gender identity is a choice. Your gender orientation is not a choice. These things might not always align for one person, but it could cause, this is confusion for the schools. I'm so sorry. For people who realize that they're feeling some type of way, that they feel like they may be judged by society or whatever the case is, they need a guidance counselor. If they need someone out of school to kind of help them through, but to sit the whole class down and say, listen, let's go over this stuff. I'm just not interested. And I would have hated that if I was in school, and I really just don't like the idea of children having to deal with this. But seriously, they're gentrifying the kid's brain. Okay? This is just too much. I don't get it. I know that these discussions take place a lot, but this is stuff that you should be able to opt into and opt out of. And I just don't agree that the school should be facilitating these discussions. I'm not saying abolish conversations like this. Don't put that in the schools because it's not okay. Here's the last worksheet, and let's move on to the Biden story, the Biden administration story where he's being sued. Okay. Someone says, I've never had to deal with these things in elementary school. It's too much. Yeah, I've never heard of, like, this is some different stuff. Okay. So this is another worksheet where it has the skit on here where we read that synopsis earlier, where the point of the skit was to get people to act certain things out and to basically like ask questions and berate the heterosexual student to make them kind of in the skit to kind of get them to break down and kind of say how they really feel. So this is not, how are y'all feeling about this? Like, how are y'all feeling about this? This is something that they're trying to roll out into all of the schools. All of the schools. Some people think that this is an orchestrated attack against American children, and this is grooming. Like, and while this is very wrong, there are other stories that I have that do touch into this area and this subject that are more egregious, but these ones are still horrible. They're still very, very, very horrible. Now, let's get into this story about Biden really quickly. And if you haven't already taken a moment to hit the thumbs up button, make sure y'all do so, okay? This is one of them uncomfortable situations because nobody wants to talk about it because a lot of people are grossed out by it. And I don't blame you. I was grossed out by this. These are children. But it's a conversation that I feel like it needs to be had, okay? It needs to be had. So this story with Biden, all right, his administration is being sued for tying gender ideology to lunch money, right? Again, I was telling you earlier that I've covered this story where Joe Biden had he basically said, listen, if you aren't going to let people who are assigned male at birth into the girls' bathroom, we're not going to give you lunch money. Do you understand? Like, do you understand tying somebody's food and their livelihood and how they eat? You got these kids, they got to fuel themselves. They need breakfast and lunch at the very least. The school provides that. What type of ultimatum is that for children? What type of ultimatum is that? Could you imagine going up to anybody and they say, hey, listen, I'm not paying for your food. I'm not going to feed you unless you do what I say. But the reason they're doing it is because it is a control tactic. Whether you're in a relationship and somebody's dangling $1 above you and they say, not until you. And we're talking about something that, again, people are going to use whatever means they can in order to get access to what they want. And believe it or not, there are a pretty high amount of assaults that take place in restrooms because it's enclosed. And you're removing your clothes in there. That's just. So for you to say it, and look, you get into the situation, you get into where, well, are you really a fully transitioned girl? Have you went through the surgery? Or, oh, well, you still have your penis. I don't feel comfortable with you in here. All this in the middle stuff. And it's just too much for the school. Make a third bathroom, period. What's wrong with making a third bathroom? What's wrong with that? I understand the difficulties of a trans person or someone who wants to, identify with the she, her pronouns. I get that. I remember that in school. The boys coming to school with the wigs on. They would go into the boys' bathroom and the football players would literally throw them out of there like Jazzy Jeff off of Fresh Prince. You remember when they would like throw him out? Them boys would literally throw them boys with the wigs, right? Because we didn't have those terms back in the day. So that's literally what they were to us. And they didn't say I identify as this. They didn't have like different pronouns. We just knew it was a boy with the wig, right? The boys would throw them out and the girls would kind of feel like, every scenario is different. But what's wrong with a third bathroom? Why can't you feed the kids why can't we make third bathrooms? Why are we making this so difficult? Because if some people want to, you can be considered transgender without going through the full surgery, but even if you go through the surgery, it doesn't mean that you're not capable of assault. And nobody's saying that everybody in that identifies with the LGBT community, nobody's saying that you do those things. But as women or as people who were assigned female at birth, we don't feel comfortable with. A lot of us don't feel comfortable with that. You want to come in here, your pronouns this year, or whenever you decided what your pronouns were, now they're she, her. And now you want to come in here where I pull my where we change in we're talking locker rooms and all that. Right? So they're literally changing clothes after gym, after PE. And here come the people with the she, her pronouns. And there's nothing wrong with them, but come on, man. I don't want to bring no. No. I just don't think it's okay. But let's get back into this article. I covered this a while ago with issues under the flag. And what I've done for you is I have created an issues under the flag playlist. It is the fourth link down below in the description box. So you can catch up on some of the other issues under the flag videos that I've done. I did one that was about this. It was about this family of transgenders, and what they did was they were grooming their own child. They were grooming their own child. All right. Like had a whole porn company and all types of abuse going on at home. Right. So this isn't just happening in academic environments. This is happening all over the place. It really, really, really is. So this, I just, look, how can we be more aware? How can we be more vigilant of this? And I think that we can be more vigilant and we can try to prevent some of these things by being brave enough to have these conversations and question what's going on in these school systems. You literally have whole schools with secrecy policies where so if kids want to come to school and they want to go by a different pronoun, if they want to get a gender transition, they've got some schools that literally have secrecy clauses where the school cannot and will stick by not giving out information to the parents of the kids who are trying to make these changes. This can be a confusing time for some kids. When I went to school, there were plenty of girls who were gay and they didn't feel like it was a phase. Those women are married to men now because it was a phase, and it's not a phase for everybody, but it's a phase for some. And thank God back in my day, wasn't that long ago, but it was a little while ago. There were no teenagers getting these surgeries and all. Because what if you change your mind? What if you change your mind? It's not okay to put all of this onto these children. It's not. You got drag strip shows that are inside of the part of the after school programs, right? So they're up there in stripper gear. Their students are tipping the money. That's a strip club. I don't care if you're how you identify, heterosexual, non-binary, gay, queer, whatever. They're up there in stripper clothes and the kids are giving them money on school property during school time. After school is still school time. And then we find out, I covered this story as well within this series. Then we find out the French teacher who is teaching this club, right, to do the drag where the children are literally instructed, bring your money so you can tip the queens. The queens got on bikinis and stripper gear. Then we find out the instructor of this club was having relations with one of the students in the club. That's why things like that, not only is it not appropriate for the students, what teacher is going to feel like, yeah, let me just go ahead and touch this kid, do this kid, violate this kid like this. But because it's it's a club under the, underneath of the flag, right? You ask a question. It's, oh, you're phobic, you're homophobic, you're transphobic, you're this phobic, you're that phobic. No, you're a fucking pedophile. I'm asking questions. All I'm asking is, what are you teaching them? What are you doing to these kids when they're in the classroom? That's it. Why can't you tell me? Why are you so offended? Next thing I know, I look up on and cover this story about the drag shows, right? The strip drag shows in the school. I look up the next week. I knew I recognized that name. Here's her mugshot for having sex with one of these kids. Okay. Okay. No. It's not okay. Okay. Let's get into this article. This stuff is so annoying, and I tweet about these things and I talk about these things very carefully, right? But issues under the flag, it's a real thing. It's a real thing, right? So let's get into this article. So the Biden administration's drive to link the provision of federal school lunch money to compliance with gender identity ideology was challenged Tuesday by 22 states, saying they would take the matter to court. Okay. So the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and I broke this down, right? I didn't get this from a publication. When I have reported this to you about Biden, I went straight to the U.S. Department of Agriculture website and I pulled up that verbiage. So when they announced last month, in order for schools to receive funds for student lunches, breakfast, and other food items, that they must comply with its interpretation of the ban on discrimination based on sex in the Educational Amendments of 1972 and other food-related programs, which includes sexual orientation and gender identity. Okay? So here's some of the verbiage that I had showed you in the previous coverage of said issue. It says the U.S. Department of Agriculture is committed to administering all its programs with equity and fairness and serving those in need with the highest dignity. A key step in advancing these principles is rooting out discrimination in any form, including discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. So basically, not allowing individuals who are assigned male at birth into the girls' bathroom. They're saying this discrimination. So yeah, infringe upon the folks who are assigned female at birth, infringe upon their rights to make this other side more comfortable. It just reminds me of the transgender swimmer, Leah, who was like, I don't like swim with the guys. I want to swim with the girls. You have an unfair advantage. I'm sorry. Your biological makeup is different than us. It's not fair that you compete with us. Not to mention you switched over, right, to swim with the women. Now all of a sudden you winning. You winning medal after medal after medal. But when you was over there swimming with the men, you were losing. So no, don't come over here tainting our sport, tainting our space. As women, we have the right to have ownership over things that are ours. Women's sports are ours. Girls' bathrooms are ours. And I feel like there's enough of the growing population, right, of people who don't, who are part of the, if you're transgender, right, there's enough of them to make their own whatever. Make your own sports league, make your own swimming league, make your own bathroom, make your own this. For God's sakes, y'all are a protected class. Us Black people ain't. So it seems like you have a lot of power. And so it seems like there's a lot of power being allocated towards infringing upon women, people who were assigned female at birth. And y'all are using that power to bully other people rather than working on getting your own things that belong to you that you can be selfish over. Yup, girls and women are going to be selfish over the utilization of the girls' bathroom because, goddamn it, it's ours. And when you get your own bathroom, you'll have that very same right. That's the truth of the matter. I'm a grown woman and I wouldn't feel comfortable sharing a bathroom with someone who was assigned male at birth, let alone the elementary, middle, and high school students, girls, young ladies. Make it make sense. It's an uncomfortable conversation, but we gonna have it. We gonna have it. Okay? Allowing boys to use the girls' restrooms, as we can see here. The Biden administration has tethered federal school lunch funding to compliance with gender ideology, allowing boys to use girls' restrooms. And so, this situation, it is beyond bizarre. Schools awarded money from the Food and Nutrition Service, an agency within the U.S. Department of Agriculture. They must specify in their policies that discrimination based on gender identity and sexual orientation is prohibited, the department confirmed. It is also said that allegations of such discrimination must be investigated. And now states are pushing against the demand for correct ideology to be linked to state provision of food and nutrition. Okay, let's get into this. We all know the Biden administration is dead set on imposing an extreme left-wing agenda on Americans nationwide. But they've reached a new level of shamelessness with this ploy of holding up food assistance for low-income kids unless school do the left's bidding. This is according to an attorney general who is leading this lawsuit that 22 states are involved in. They're not with it. And this is part of what I was saying in my initial coverage is people need to take a stand. The school administrators, people in the PTA, if your parents go to these schools, take a stand against this. Your kids are going to starve unless boys are allowed to use the girl restroom. Your kids will go hungry. You know, when you give someone who's already receiving public assistance an ultimatum, do this or else you won't have anything. We're talking about food. We're not talking about some extra, like, it's not like, oh, you won't get a new basketball court. We're not going to remodel your gym unless you're talking about food. And so a lot of people are going to cave for the sake of surviving, but is that safe? Is that safe? And is that infringed upon my rights? You feel like you have the right to come over here to my bathroom. And if I feel like that's not fair, it's shut up and deal with it. Because you heterosexual people, So the 22 states, which are mostly Republican controlled, named in the lawsuit are Indiana, Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, Georgia, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Virginia, and West Virginia. God damn it, where's Maryland? Sheesh. So the lawsuit specifically names the U.S. Department of Agriculture as the defendant. Okay. It accuses the Biden administration of misconstruing the federal law and misinterpreting the Supreme Court's decision in Botock versus Clayton County, which protects employees against discrimination for being gay or transgender. Now, they set out the National School Lunch Program. It feeds nearly 30 million students every day. Approximately 100,000 public, nonprofit, private schools and daycares receive federal funding to subsidize free or reduced price meals for qualifying children. The Biden administration's actions will inevitably result in regulatory chaos that threatens essential nutritional service to some of Indiana's most vulnerable citizens. So, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on this? See, somebody said Maryland's a blue state. You know, I get that. I'm just saying, like, I'm here in Maryland. You know, most of them are Republican states, but this is it's crazy, right? Some of these people, of course, I'm not saying gay people are pedophiles. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the group is being infiltrated. It's being hijacked with this sick pattern. It's being infiltrated. I know plenty of people who are in it who are not like this. This is a terrible representation. Who's going to sound the alarm to kick them out of their group? I don't even feel like everybody who is within, who is doing this type of stuff under the guise of this label of the LGBT, I don't believe that all of them really even identify that way. I believe that some of them are homosexuals pretending to be part of the LGBT because they know they'll get questioned less, and they know the terminology of, as soon as you ask questions, oh, you're homophobic, let me cancel you, what do you do, let me email all your sponsors, so on and so forth. So what do we do? What do we do? I remember when I did the story about the transgender swimmer, and when the transgender swimmer came over to the girls' swimming league, if the women expressed their dismay or their discomfort rather with the transgender swimmer's presence, they were then told that they were speaking negative language, like they were speaking, basically kind of being insubordinate, and they were forced to go to counseling. And that was a way of silencing them and allowing that swimmer to kind of just freely have peace and skip along in the locker room and in the swimming pool and so on and so forth. Meanwhile, the women who I just can't. Leah Thomas. I didn't want to say the wrong. I thought that's what it was. Yeah, Leah Thomas. So if they spoke out about how it's not fair, there's an unfair advantage. It's like you're speaking negatively about this swimmer. You're being phobic. Here's some counseling. I guarantee this isn't happening in the rich communities. This is why I refuse to live under their rules and need their food or else BS. I feed my children at the government. Okay. I feel you on that. I absolutely do. This is really out of control. It's beyond out of control, in my opinion. How do y'all feel about it? How do you all feel about it? You see how evil he is. He's a devil. Sometimes, and I'm not trying to cut no leeway for him, but I'm like, Biden don't even know which way is up, right? Like, when is he ever coherent? When is Biden ever truly in his right mind and coherent? That's what I want to know. Here's what I'm going to do, everyone. And shout out to Doris for being in the chat, because I sent you the $5 that you wanted to give away during yesterday's live stream, the second live stream of yesterday. So it's still early, right? I really want to know how you feel about this down below in the comments. Sometimes I have panels on this subject, and I look forward to having more panels on this subject. I would love to bring more people into this conversation, people who are part of the LGBT community and or parents who have children who are attending schools and some of these things are being implemented and they have an issue with it, or just parents in general, right? Like, how are you as a person, as a parent, whether you're part of the community or not, how are you dealing with this stuff being implemented upon your child? How are you stopping it? Or what is what are you doing? That's what I want to know, right? And I'm anxious to get other people, and even if you disagree, right, I'm still interested in having this conversation, because I think it truly takes a village to make a difference, right? And so I think that this lawsuit is an amazing thing against the Biden administration. Truthfully, I really do. And I look to see more of the collective coming together. I do catch a lot of the different like press conference / PTA meetings where the parents, they stand up and they're speaking out about this stuff. And they're really passionate about it. And you know what's really interesting is you'll find the parents coming there reading some of the pornographic books that are in the public school system that the children are being forced to read aloud in class, but parents don't feel comfortable with it because they're like, this is literally a pornographic book. This is erotica. They're literally describing in graphic detail anal sex, oral sex, how to have good sex, teach them the basics about their body and their anatomy, but all that other stuff, it's a bit much. Children in school should not be going to school to learn how to have mind-blowing, amazing sex, to read books about how to have, anal sex, right? And the best techniques to suck an eggplant. But these are some of the literatures that are in the public school system. And when the parents are showing up to some of these PTA meetings and otherwise, and I'm like looking at the footage myself, and the parent is reading the book that the class, right, that's a part of the syllabus, the student has to stand up and read this out loud in class because that's a part of the assignment somehow. And so when the parent is reading this in the PTA conference, right, they're stopping the parent saying that's too graphic, that's too much for this meeting. If it's too much for the parent-teacher conference and the parent is bringing it up because they feel like it's too much, what makes it appropriate for the classroom? What makes it appropriate for the classroom? If it's too much for the PTA conference. So they don't even want the parents complaining about it because they're like, oh no, you're using too many words on this microphone in front of these people, and it's making the parents of the PTA conference uncomfortable. But the students got to read it in class. Make it make sense. Oh, we're going to get into that tomorrow. Because I've got a list of, I think it's 14 different books, and I've got page excerpts and pictures. Okay. We're talking not even just regular books with text. We're talking, kind of comic. There's different ones, right? There's some of them that are just text. There's some of them that are set up like comics and they've got the captions. And I'm looking at one of these pictures before I left work today when I'm doing research for this series, because I want to do it more frequently. I want to do this series as more than enough, about three times a week. And I'm looking at these pictures in this book, and it's literally, I don't care if it's heterosexual or homosexual, kids shouldn't be in school looking at images of somebody sucking a dick. Whether it's a woman sucking a man's or a man sucking a man's. Why is that in the book? Why is that a part of? Why? Oh, it's important to teach children about their bodies, and they're gonna, yeah, but come on. Books about anal sex and sucking peen in the school? Absolutely not. Please stop. Please stop playing in my face. And we see some of these. We end up seeing mugshots and then say, oh, we should have said more. Oh, but I didn't want to get attacked because they called me phobic and da 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 da. You've got people who are literally a part of the school board inviting kids 0 to 18 to her sex shop to talk about their queerness, their queerness. The sex shop has got dildos and kinky, the gags and the straps and the whips all over the place, but they're coming there to talk about their queerness, and a sex shop is appropriate for students ages 0 through 18. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be, clubs and places where children can feel safe expressing themselves if they don't identify as heterosexual, but a sex shop. She's literally got on the flyer, come to my sex shop. She's on the school board. Come to my sex shop. And I've covered this in the other ones, in the other series, right? Come to my sex shop. Children ages 0 through 18. 0. A 7-month-old can come up in your sex shop and get on the microphone and just coo about their queerness. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? These people with these ill intentions make it bad for other people who I know don't get down like this. It's the people with the ill intentions that unfortunately creates this negative ripple effect for other people who do identify with the LGBT community. But hey, Doris, thank you for coming back. I had just shouted you out for sending you the $5 on Cash App for winning the giveaway yesterday during the live. Let me see. Let's go ahead and go to the bush and weep, because this is out of control.
It was gone.
Let me just go in the bush and weep. Let me just go in the bush and weep. I just have to go in the bush and weep. Really. I don't understand. I swear to God, I don't understand.
Okay. Look, Stickies, here's what I want to know from you. What are your thoughts on this? How do you feel about this series? I would ask you, do you feel like I should continue this series? But honestly, I don't care. I don't. If you feel like it's a great series, thank you. But if there's somebody who feels like, listen, Jane, you need to cut this series out, honestly, I don't care. It's the silence that does more harm than the people speaking up. Because then these people are still literally hiding under this flag and bringing all of these strange and deranged ideas to the schools to indoctrinate these kids. You had one teacher invite a student to an after-school club, an after-school program. She called it an arts and crafts after-school program. But when the child got there, it was all about it was all about being part of being non-heterosexual. Hey, if you don't feel like a boy, then you might not be a boy. You might be a girl. Hey, if you were assigned female at birth, that doesn't mean that you're a girl. If you feel like a boy inside, then you're a boy inside. And then the child was told, don't tell your parents what we talk about here. And it was all about that. Why lie and call the club an arts and crafts club, knowing damn well you were about to sit down and talk about who are you attracted to? Who aren't you attracted to? Why do you feel like that's wrong? It's like, damn, not y'all trying to recruit and convert Y'all are worse than the people walking up and down the streets handing out the flyers who won't let you go past them, and they trying to talk you into a different damn religion. Aggressive about it. Hey, have you accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior? I'm good on that. No, you need to listen because eternal damnation. Like I said, I'm straight. Like, why y'all out here recruiting like this? The kids. This is beyond recruitment. This is grooming. It's grooming. It's grooming, it's grooming, it's grooming, it's grooming. Okay? It really is. I was a little bit of a tomboy growing up in school. I didn't feel like a boy inside, but I wasn't trying to wear a dress every day to school. I wasn't into dresses for the most part when I was in school. I wasn't into dresses until prom came and I realized how good I looked in them. That doesn't mean I was a boy, right? They get into these kids' head in some of the weirdest ways. Hey, do you feel like a girl today? Because you might not be. You might be a boy. Think about it. Come to school tomorrow. We can give you some tape to tape it down. We can give you some, if kids can literally go to school and go behind their parents' backs and start these surgeries and these hormone blockers to stop and to stop their periods and all other types of stuff. Irreversible effects. Irreversible effects. Okay? Yeah, just come like, why y'all out here recruiting like this? Why? It doesn't make sense. Thank you, AM. Says, I appreciate you. I'm a grandparent in Indiana. I like to stay up to date so I can make sure my daughter stays on it. You're more than welcome. I'm going to do it more often. These videos are going to be shorter and I'm going to try to do them around about 3 times a week. It's too much to sit and talk about every single instance in one video because who's going to watch a 3-hour video about this? It becomes so uncomfortable and itchy. It makes you want to crawl out of your skin, right? So I want to create more bite-sized videos that are around about 20, 25 minutes or less, a couple times a week, just to let y'all know the type of stuff, the different tactics that they're using to get inside of your kid's head. So I will continue to talk about this stuff. I appreciate y'all being down with it and down for it. It doesn't really do a service per se for my channel because videos like this do horribly numerically, like they really do. Especially when you're looking at the thumbnail, people are like, oh my goodness, here's a flag. And if they identify with the LGBT community, they're like, oh, here she go talking shit about my people. I'm not talking shit about your people. I'm talking shit about pedophiles. That's it. And I can say that a million times. And somebody that was here for the video will still come up and ask me something that's the opposite of what I'm talking about here. Like they'll literally agree with my stance, but they've misconstrued everything because this can be a very politically and or emotionally charged thing, right? And people feel like I'm, so some people are just not going to get it because of where they are and their level of willingness to really comprehend. And I guess some people are just going to be turned off, but hey. Like, it is what it is. If it was me, if I had kids, I'd be like, I wish, okay. You couldn't have explained it any clearer. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Because sometimes, based off of the feedback that I get, sometimes you would have thought I really said something like destroy all of the, you would have really thought I said something crazy like they're, or made blanketed statements about them. If anything, I'm really taking on a fraction of a responsibility to make it better for my compadres and my people who identify with the LGBT community. I'm trying to wean out the pedophiles within an organization that I'm not a part of, right? Because I don't have to be a part of an organization to try to protect children, right? I'm trying to wean the pedophiles out of a group that have been infiltrated. And I don't even know if the LGBT community really realizes how much they have been hijacked by these people. They've been hijacked. These people don't even identify like you. They just want to do sexually deviant shit to kids. That's it. And so is it difficult for somebody outside of the LGBT community to talk crap about people who are misusing their identity and their labels? Yep. It's risky, right? But I'm going to do it. No risk, no reward. And the reward in this instance is more awareness to help alleviate, prevent some of this child grooming and this harm. Once you take a kid's innocence, we've seen all these mugshots coming from all these different places with people who are touching kids. these kids will almost never be the same again, right? If there's anybody who's ever been the victim of molestation, rape, right, sexual misconduct, abuse, or battery, you can't undo that trauma. The damage is done. And sometimes all it takes is a little bit of pressure for people to understand, hey, if I'm trying to do this, I'm going to be asked a lot of questions, regardless of whether I identify with the LGBTQ or not. So we need to be asking more questions about what are your intentions with my kids. And if it's all academic and that's all it is, then there really should be no problem with answering these questions. But to just create a whole LGBTQ, a drag strip show after school club, and the school said, okay, fine, y'all can have this, and they never did their checks and balances to walk up and say, hey, what are you really teaching these students? It took a video to get out on social media, one of the students attending the drag strip show, right, the stripper show, right, because strippers don't have to be heterosexual, but these were students who were in drag. It took a student to record these promiscuous looking students, because that's what they had on, bikinis and things hanging out, very inappropriate for school, regardless of what your orientation is. It took a student to record that while another student walked up and put money into the underwear and the bra of the child in the after school program for social media to be like, oh, this is a problem. The school didn't even feel confident enough to really ask, hey, can I see your syllabus? What are you teaching? Is somebody going to be sitting in to make sure that none of this crazy stuff is taking place? Nobody did it. Everybody's apprehensive because you don't want to, they'll bust out all these words on you. The fluid, there's, I even have friends who are part of the LGBT community and they can't even keep up with all of the different pansexual and gender fluid and this and that. Every day you wake up, it's about 18 more different terms for you to try to remember as it pertains to how non-heterosexual people identify. And I'm not saying y'all, keep your terminology, like however you identify, but that's a lot for children. I'm a whole adult and I can't even keep up with it, let alone for y'all to be having worksheets, confusing children with all this. It's crazy. It's crazy. Nicole says, this isn't something easy to talk about. I just started talking to my baby about sex and all that comes with it now. I have to start telling her and making her aware. Yeah, it's unfortunate. You have some people who are like, we're teaching masturbation in school because children start masturbating as young as 2 years old. It's very natural. So you need to be talking to your kids as young as possible about, I'm not talking to my 7-year-old sister, 2-year-old, 5-year-old, 3-year-old, 11-year-old sister about masturbation, because it's inappropriate. I'm not teaching them how to beat and then you got the school, you got Tierra Mack trying to introduce this type of stuff into the schools. Why should the school be teaching these little boys how to beat their meat? Types of vibrators and things out here. That is not appropriate. Teach them how to get pregnant. Teach them how to prevent STDs. Teach them how to prevent pregnancy. Teach them how the body works, the anatomy. Teach them what a condom is. And that's it. And then, of course, you got the right, how baby works, right? They talk about women's menstrual cycles and ovulation and how it takes the sperm and the egg and whatever. That's where it should stop. But no, they get an inch and they take a mile. We're going to teach them how to have mind-blowing sex and how to bust a really good nut and where the G spot is and da-da-da. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Rashida, you want to call in? Let me drop the link. Hopefully you can call in the next couple minutes, because I'm trying to end this because I do have something scheduled for the other channel. Okay. And I'm literally going to dump y'all from this chat into the next one. Look, I'm stepping out on, I'm being brave even having this discussion. And some people might feel like, right, I'm not even being 100% politically correct. I had a friend of mine say, look, when you say the gay agenda is offensive, it has a negative connotation. And I'm like, okay, and sometimes I still have to catch myself, right? Because I don't want to offend anybody who's a part of the LGBT community. I'm just trying to weed out pedophiles. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. So let me see. Let me set this for 11:15 for the backup channel before we put people there. If you are gonna call in, Rashida, if you were gonna call in D Butler, I don't even remember what voice I was using. I don't remember what voice I was using. I'm so animated. I don't remember. So yeah, Rashida, if you are gonna call in, hopefully you can do so in the next 2 minutes, because we are about to get out of here. So here's what I'm gonna do. Let me go ahead and play this. And hopefully Rashida's here by then. Okay. Drop some pancakes in the chat if you haven't already, but also hit thumbs up on this video if you haven't already. It's time to face boo. Your product needs more exposure. If you want to see your ad here on my channel, be sure to shoot an email over to yt.theplainestjane@gmail.com and let's chat. But if you're new in my neighborhood here on YouTube, hey, I'm the Plainest Jane, and I provide coverage and commentary on trending stories, viral events, and Black culture. I definitely appreciate you stopping through and hitting that subscribe button if you'd like more of my particular brand of syrup.
It was a YouTuber, and shout out to her for this good detective work, honey. She's the one who went and was able to put 2 and 2 together. The Plainest Jane. That's the person's name, the Plainest Jane. I couldn't think of what their name was on the podcast, but I wanted to go ahead and shout them out. They're the ones who did the work. All right. So, like I said, shout out to Plainest Jane. She's the one who put that together. So Shekinah was not lying. So when Tiny came back on some, oh, she's making it up, sounded like Tiny's voice to me.
Alrighty, and we are back. Okay, Rashida, maybe you can call in on the next show. If you want to chime in on this topic and you're watching the next show that we're going to do on the backup channel, feel free to call in about this topic, because I don't mind, because that video is going to be more laid back, so we can cut up and talk about things that aren't as heavy as this. Yeah, you can definitely call in as we go over to the backup channel. Okay. So let me see. My Discord is calling me about something. Got you. Alrighty. So let me go ahead and do this. We are going to go ahead and end this live. Look, I hope that y'all have had an amazing day. Wait, first what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the setting to make sure that I can transfer y'all into the backup channels chat. It's a really cool feature, believe it or not. Okay. Where I'm able to put you into literally take you to a whole nother video. It's really dope. So let me go here and hit this little button so that I can get y'all over there. Okay. And what are y'all having for dinner? Thank you for getting that bot. What are y'all having for dinner in the meantime? Okay. Let me know what y'all know. Y'all be inspiring me with what y'all be having for dinner. Okay. Let me go ahead and find this thing back here, y'all. Chat settings. That's where it is. What am I having for dinner? I didn't eat crab cakes yesterday. I just had chili yesterday. So I'm having crab cakes for dinner this evening when I'm done kicking it with you all. Okay. So that's what I'm having. Reach, engagement, cancel. Let me see. Child, I can't find the damn button. I did it last time. And it seems like I can't find this button right now, y'all. Which sucks. It really sucks. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try. You had a BLT. It's 11:02. Yes, it is 11:02 here in Maryland. Yes, it is. Let me give a shout out to my channel members. Y'all know we were backstage. I think it was like the day, it was Sunday, I do believe. Was it Sunday? But we were backstage. And for anybody who wants to learn more about YouTube and you want YouTube tips and tricks, feel free to join the membership. It is the top tier where I give YouTube 101 classes. But here's what I'm going to do. Let me figure out how to dump y'all into the other chat, okay?
The plainest Jane. This is one of my favorite comments here. She says, I loves me some black, and she said, loves me some black news. She says, is it just me, or does anyone else get tired of seeing people that don't look like them delivering info about them day in and day out?
So wait a minute, you ain't joined the channel yet so that you can access special perks over here with the plainest Jane?
Rolex on your wrist, a plain Jane.
Ooh, watch this. Hey, I'm the plainest Jane. I'm a cultural commentator and informant, and I provide sticky coverage on trending stories, black news, black culture, and everyday topics with a sticky, abstract perspective. So get familiar with the perks. I've carefully curated all of these things, and it's just a little exclusive glaze to amplify the way that you express yourself. So get comfortable, get used to our official emoji over here. That is the pancake stack, because it's always sticky in Hollywood and in real life, and especially when you spend the time over here with the plainest Jane. Like I said, I hope you enjoy the exclusive glaze that I've provided for you to amplify the way you express yourself, and I hope you enjoy the digital vibe. Hey, listen, I always want you to keep it sticky, but be sure to think critically and independently, regardless of what you hear from me or anybody else. But most importantly, I hope that you're feeling all right, and hopefully you've had some time to tackle some of your invisible problems. I know I got a couple of new subscribers, and I just want to say thank y'all. I really do appreciate you. And if you're not quite feeling all right, this channel right here, once you join, it's going to help you kick back and decompress always, but it'll also keep you in the know with what's happening with the best black news, celebrity entertainment, and a splash of controversy. So again, get comfortable. The first drink is on me, all right? Act like you got some sense, and I'll see you around. But don't forget to keep it sticky 24/7 by following me on Instagram, but hit that notification bell so that you always know when I upload and you get your dose of syrup first. Now, with all that stickiness being said, the most important thing I want you to remember about this neck of the woods and the plainest Jane is Black Lives Matter. And if you don't agree,
Buy pumpkin. That would take you out. I don't play that shit.
Now you gotta go for real.
it's just that simple. Hey, look, whether you join or not, I do want you to stay beautiful, black, and blessed. And just know I appreciate your support. I'm your girl, the plainest Jane. And let's see what's happening in these virtual streets. You ready? All right now. This could be a crazy ride. I'm warning you now. All right, and we are back. Thank y'all for y'all patience. And yes, I found the set, and so I'll be transferring you directly over to the backup channel, and we are gonna get started in literally 5 minutes. I'm gonna just get up from this chair, go use the bathroom, get comfortable in this chair again. So we should literally be pulling off the bus as soon as I end this one, no later than 7 minutes after we end this one. So it's going to be really dope. And y'all are going to be able to see this feature where I'm able to just transfer y'all right over to the backup channel. Now, listen, you know, when I'm dropping you off in the backup channel parking lot, because y'all know how the bus go. Okay. When I drop you off into the parking lot of the backup channel, make sure you subscribe. Mostly all of y'all should be subscribed already. But if by some odd chance you ain't already subscribed to that backup channel, make sure y'all hit that damn subscribe button when you go over there, okay? I plan on using that channel when I just want to be a little less formal, and I like to do a lot of, I don't want to stop doing research, right? But sometimes going on, I want it to be less formal to the point where I don't have to format all of my images and videos and clips as much, and we can kind of let loose, and I feel more comfortable letting y'all call in on the backup channel, right? So that's what it's about. And thank you so much for being here for this series. I know it's not easy to talk about. This video is longer than I wanted it to be completely honest with you. But thank you for letting me just have this conversation about how, you know, I've just noticed that children are being targeted and being forced to deal with the politicization of the LGBT community. Okay. And yeah, I see y'all telling me what y'all was having, okay? For dinner, crab salad, blah, blah, okay? Beef stew and other canned goods. Get it how y'all live it, okay? Because I'm going to eat my crab cake when we get done the next one. Look, let me give you a heads up about what we're going to be talking about on the backup channel. The Fat Joe and the flashy scamming pastor, whatever, they were on Instagram Live for 48 minutes. I screen recorded the whole thing and I had it processing and formatting here on my second cell phone. So we're going to watch that in its entirety. Ugh. He gets on my nerves, this flashy pastor. So we're going to go through that. So if you're excited to see what the flashy pastor been up to today and the other information I have, he made a couple of very interesting, he did make some homophobic remarks. He had a very interesting accusation to throw at Larry Reed, to be quite frank. And so I'm interested. I'm excited to get into all of the entertainment stuff. Okay. We're going to get into all of the entertainment stuff on the backup channel so we can just sit back and laugh a little bit. Scamming pastor, flashy pastor, Bishop Bling Bling, Rob pastor, whatever you want to call, right? Somebody said the link, this chat is going to automatically take you to it. So look, without further ado, thank y'all so much for watching. Thank you so much for being a part of this show. It means so much to me. I don't take your time, your energy, your presence for granted when you spend the time over here with me. Okay. Don't forget to check in on yourself, check in on your loved ones, do something to decompress. Okay. You got less than 10 minutes before we get started with the next video. So if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, make sure you do so. Thumbs up or down. Either way, I appreciate it. But make sure y'all hit that notification bell as well. Yeah, he lied. Let's go. Let's get ready for this. And I'm going to pick y'all up at the next bus stop. And let me drop you off right now. Okay? Stay beautiful, black, and blessed. And I'll see you in less than 10 minutes. Deuces.
On your wrist, a plain Jane.
But that's it. If you want to catch more of my commentary on Black culture or vital and trending information, be sure to subscribe by hitting that little circle in the middle of the screen, or I'll catch you in one of these rectangles to the right in another video. I'll see you there.